What's up guys, Draco here, talking about nails. So my nails are pretty short, as you can see. I sometimes play guitar and stuff, so I can't really grow them out that much. Because fretting is impossible even with short nails, let alone with long nails. I'm not like a guitarist or anything, I just have a guitar that I occasionally play. But yeah. I have no idea how people live with long nails. Like, I look at them and I'm like, wow, that's really slay. But I'm like, how would you go about your life? Like, you just put your credit card on something. Like, how am I meant to take my credit card out when I have nails that are like, I don't know. I've seen nails that are like this long. And I'm like, how would you do anything? Typically, I'm not judging them. I'm incredibly impressed, and I'm, I was gonna say admonish. I don't actually know what the word admonish means. I'm praising them basically. Is admonish a positive thing or is it negative? I've only seen it in the context of Fire Emblem Three Houses for the tea parties. I don't actually think I've ever encountered the word admonish outside of that. Do you ever do that thing where, like, you say a word and then you're like, actually, I don't know what that word means? I did that quite a bit yesterday. Like, with the word remiss, I don't actually know what that means. We've like just, like, back to the drawing board. What the hell is a drawing board? It's just like, I don't know. There's so many things where I'm like, I don't really know what that word means, but I just use it. I'm trying to think of other examples. I feel like there's probably just insane. It's like, oh gosh, there was one that I was thinking of yesterday and then I just forgot it now. Anyway, if it comes to me, I'll say it later. But yeah, this was about nails, wasn't it? Anyway, I'll get back to that later. But I just can't, there's so many stuff where it's like, it feels like this word is pertinent in the situation, but I don't really know exactly what that word means, and it may mean something completely different. Like, I also don't know what pertinent means, but it just feels like it fits, you know? Gosh, I feel like, no one will get the reference if I say it, but I've watched, like, one episode of Grimgar, and they basically go, like, wow, think of it as a game, and they're like, wow, what's a game? And like, I don't know, it felt like it fit, though, and I'm like, cool, because Grimgar's like a disguised isekai or something, from my understanding. Again, I've watched one episode. I don't remember this whole anime's title. It was like Grimgar, Dust and Ash or something. If you want to watch it, go ahead. If you don't, I'm not going to recommend it because I, again, haven't watched very much. I'm not saying it's bad, I don't have enough of a reference to comment on it, really. I probably will continue at some point, but yeah. Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff where I feel like that's a word that fits in the situation, and then I'm like, actually, is it? I don't like long words very much, because, in my opinion, language is there to communicate a point. If you use a bunch of artsy, fancy vocabulary, and no one knows what you're talking about, you've failed at using language for its entire purpose. The entire point of language is that I can communicate, person A communicates with person B, hey, I think this. Hey, I think this. Hey, I saw this. I saw this. And it's like, you're communicating a point. If I say, blah, 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 this guy doesn't gain any knowledge from that. So I think it's pointless. I have, yeah, I feel like my opinion is always, like, if you can't take something away from it, it's also just kind of pointless. I mean, obviously you can tell stories that don't really have a meaning to people, especially if they're, like, your friend, and it's just like, hey, did you hear the gossip? Obviously you can't take anything away from that, but it's just interesting. But what you're taking away is enjoyment. But I think I have a similar issue with, like, do I go there? No, I'm not going to go there. That's actually probably too deep for... I'm just going to briefly mention it, actually. So, like, I was thinking about, like, Sunday schools and, like, church services and stuff recently. And I also have an issue with how we teach, like, a lot of stuff to younger years in, like, Christianity. I'm sure this probably exists in other religions, I just don't know other religions very well. But I was just thinking, like, why do we focus on teaching stuff like Noah's Ark when or like David and Goliath, Noah's Ark, Daniel and the Lion's Den. Where there's Daniel and the Lion's Den, I'm going to take an exception to this actually, but the other two like are very well-known stories, but there's nothing that a child can actually take away from that to build upon in their life. I feel like, other than maybe Trust God, but there's so many better stories to tell for that, and I'm like, instead of, I think the key focus of reading most religious texts, if not all religious texts, should be looking at it from a theological perspective and saying, what can I take away to better my life, as opposed to, here's a list of things that happened, cool. But I think that in a lot of younger churches, like Sunday schools and stuff, they do the opposite approach, being like, here's Noah's Ark, here's David and Goliath, here's whatever. And it's like, okay, what do I take away from that? Beats me. Like, I think the parables that Jesus told are much better for it. Anyway, also, if you don't believe in Christianity, I'm fine with saying, like, sure, just don't teach the Christian stuff at all. I'm basically saying, if you're going to teach Christianity to a kid, you should focus on the lessons that they can take away to better their life, as opposed to giving them a list of facts. Or, if you don't believe it's fact, then list of stories. I again, I'm not going to try and convince people either way whether Christianity is true or not. I myself am a Christian, but I'm not going to be like, to my knowledge, you can be Gnostic or agnostic Christian. Gnostic basically means you're Christian and you know it's true. Agnostic is you're Christian, but you just kind of believe it and you don't have that much evidence. I'm a agnostic Christian, if that's what that means. I'm not actually certain whether it's what it means or not. I've heard this from somewhere, though. But anyway, that's basically, I'm a Christian, but I'm not going to be like, this is right and everyone else is wrong. Like, I don't know. I just chose to believe something, so yeah. I've really not talked about nails very much in this. But yeah, I was just talking about how nails, I was just thinking how nails are very impressive, that people have, like, really long nails. Also, I like I don't know if the mic will pick that up, but I like the sound that it makes when you just, like, rub your nails together. Especially if you have, like, acrylic nails. I obviously don't, but, like, I was talking essentially at length about my opinion on acrylic nails. They're very impressive, but not for me. Well, I mean, long nails aren't always acrylic, but a lot of them are. But yeah, it's just a very fun sound to go like... I have no idea if that picks up on audio. Anyway. Oh yeah, I also probably should have specified in the title these were like nails and fingernails, not nails on a hammer. Maybe, you know, I'm going to talk about hammer nails as well. Get everyone involved. Everyone is here. Yeah, I don't have any thoughts about them though, because I just realised now that I didn't specify though. But I do think nails are they're very useful. Hella underrated. Because I don't think anyone rates them that highly. Like, obviously they're not, like, top tier, but I feel like no one rates nails. It's like, they hold so much stuff together. Nails are at least an A tier on, like, things. Of, like, every object, I think nails are at least... Are they A tier? At least B tier. Yeah, because it's a lot of bad objects. I'm going to go with A tier. I don't think they're S tier, but I think... I'm sure if you're, like, a engineer, you can be like, no, they're S tier, but, like, I'm not an engineer. But, like, the fact we have screws and bolts and stuff makes that, like, there are alternatives. So you don't need nails. So, like, as much as, like, bread, which I think would be an S tier. I mean, I guess in other cultures you don't eat bread as much. It's more like a Western thing. So maybe... Nah. But it's still, like, it sustains a lot of people. Whereas, like, a cave... Like, if you gave a caveman the option of either having bread or having nails, they're always taking bread. I assume. I don't know enough about cavemen. But probably. Like, why would they want a nail anyway? They have much better things to fight with. And, like, rice is also S tier, obviously. I'm not gonna just take, like, Eastern cultures. Every, like, main starch, potatoes, bread, rice, all that, all S tier. But yeah, nails are just very good. Like, it's impressive how they just, like, hold stuff together. And no one rates them, really. So, underrated. Fingernails, I think people rate fingernails a lot higher. So I'm gonna say fingernails are rated fairly correctly. Even though I don't think fingernails are, like, worse than the nails for hammers. I think that fingernails are less overrated because they're rated higher already. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be grateful for the existence of nails, both kinds, especially the hammer kind. I don't know what to refer to that kind of nail. Hammer nails, like just nails, nails for making stuff. Don't know. Anyway, also you should eat something if you haven't. It's good to sustain. Good to sustain. Good to sustain yourself. There we go. Good to sustain. Good to sustain yourself. There. Why can I not say that quickly? Good to sustain. Anyway, bye. I'm gonna now spend the next like 20 minutes trying to learn how to say that. Actually, no. I don't need to say that in my V life anyway, so I'll just accept I can't. Bye.